Bom dia, Portugal!
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, buen dia, alegria. Munson here with a Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. How are you this morning? Let's say a few hellos after we found out what's going on in the show. It's always good for me to find out what's going on in the show. At 9 o'clock, of course, it's Monday. So the mindful migration man, James, the banana slug, will be with us with his reflections on moving and living in Portugal mindfully. So always some timely reminders from James. Looking forward to talking to him around 9 o'clock. And at 9:30, Bob and Viv will be here from Ponte Lima, where we saw those beautiful sunsets, actually, and sunrises last week. Looking very lovely up there in the winter in northern Portugal. It's Bob and Viv at around 9:30. Looking forward to what's going on in 2024. Big year ahead. Always at this time of year, the media starts talking about Christmas and the New Year, right? And I loosely associate myself with that approach to attempting to keep you up with what's going on in the big wide world, as well as you having the opportunity to share what's going on in your part of the world as well, more importantly. And of course, 2024 will be the 50th anniversary of the Carnation Revolution. So an important year for Portugal. And no doubt to be hijacked from time to time by politicians here, because it's a general election as well on the 10th of March. So two big things that are happening next year that certainly will give a big political feel and flavour to what's going on in life in Portugal. And of course, here at your service, if you're thinking of moving to Portugal, if you've moved here recently, if you've been here a little while and you're looking to consider what might be your next step and your next best way of living and loving life here in Portugal, we're here at your service on the Good Morning Portugal show with me, Carl Munson. Good to be here this morning. Right. We have a bit of, we have a very special interview from Filomena that we're going to play this morning. She has been in the Azores, and we've got a nice windy scene so prepare for that. Strong winds this morning. Where Tia Filomena is. Where's she been? She's been all over the islands and sent me some lovely pictures. So we'll have some great video to share with you, some longer versions of knitted together imagery from the Azores, from Filomena. And she has been with a gentleman called Genuino Madruga. What a great name to be called Genuino. A Portuguese sailor, the only Portuguese sailor to go solo around the world twice. So I'm going to play the first part of that interview soon after we've heard from Filomena, but not until we've said a few hellos this morning, because the wise men of the Gunpocalypse have been around. And here early this morning, I'm winding back through the banners there rather than the greetings this morning. Oh, here they are. Coach Turner was in at 8 o'clock. Bom dia a todos e bem-vindo ao início de semana. And our usual child wrangling today, but the weather is cold and wet, so I suspect we'll be indoors. Have a great day wherever you are. Cheers, Coach Turner. Morning, Coach. Just T-Duck. I saw a guy at the gym yesterday on the stationary bike, white a cycle path. Thank you very much. More like that to come this morning, I'm sure. God's God tip of the day then. Over the last couple of weeks, we've looked at how to motivate yourselves and the health benefits that exercise can provide, says Coach T. So I thought this week it would be useful to put together a basic schedule to follow that would provide sufficient activity. Excellent. First up, try to walk 30 minutes each day, or roughly 3,000 steps. Marvelous. If you can, push yourself a little so that you can breathe more deeply than usual. then you know you're working. Legs day tomorrow. Fantastic. Thank you very much. So how about that? If you go out, I mean, take it gently. If it hurts, stop and ease into this slowly. Don't give yourself a shocking experience that you will later regret and then not want to follow or repeat. That's part of the problem, isn't it, with exercise? We go into these things with great gusto, pull a muscle and then think, I'm not doing that again. It's dangerous. Okay, that's wonderful. 30 minutes then perhaps today and around 3,000 steps. Good stuff. Thank you, Coach T. And a deep thought from T Duck, who says to us this morning, Bon dia alegria Gumpers, deep thoughts. Remember, it's not about what you eat between Thanksgiving and Christmas, but what you eat between Christmas and Thanksgiving. Ooh, I say, what's that then? Is that a political, a nutritional? What do you make of that, everybody? Let us know in the chat. I found a few more Portuguese sayings. I don't think these are repeats. Okay, I don't mind if they are repeats, actually. There's a lot to commend the Portuguese sayings of the day. So thank you for finding more and putting me on the spot with a bit of Portuguese pronunciation, T-Duck. No matter if they are repeated, because the vocabulary and the insight into the Portuguese psyche is very useful. For example, Portuguese saying of the day today, then saco vazio. Now para em pé, an empty bag doesn't stand upright. Well, that makes a lot of sense. I guess I'm just adjusting my posture. Does that mean that you need to stand up straight and to have morals and to be made of something makes for an upright individual, perhaps? Again, make of that what you will and tell us what you make of it in the chat, if you don't mind. Slug is like slow honey is his name today. Thank you, Fiona. Fiona Bruce. Good morning, James. I really don't get that. Slug is like slow honey. Thank you, Fiona. Is that a review that you've had? Is that somebody who's described you as being like slow honey? Oh, look, Alison's here as well. Good morning. Happy Monday, Gumpers. Hey, Slug and T-Duck. Good morning to you, Alison. Good to see you here. Lots of love to you and Michael this morning, just down the road here in San Martino de Porto. I'm guessing you might not be. And bon dia, folks, from Marty as well. Gary Mills. Hello, Gary. I'll put your Monte Gordo video up on our channel today as well. Thank you very much for that. Bon dia all from a damp Wales back to reality. Okay. Let us help you keep your Portuguese pilot light lit, my friend. Tune in whilst you're over there in Wales. Alongside Dougie, a lot of Dougie's 2-minute tasters were put up on the channel as well. It means to learn a lot and not have an empty head or you'll fail. Okay, the upright bag. The upright bag approach to educating the youngsters. Very good. Thank you, T-Duck. Bon dia. Espero que hayan pasado un buen fin de semana. Thank you very much. Hope you had a good weekend, says. He's throwing some past tense our way there, I think. Nice one, João de Norte. And bon dia, Ali, as well from... and bon dia, Thunder from James as well this morning. A new name to get used to. We'll see him in the slimy flesh in a little while. Actually, he's not slimy. He's honey coated, as he's told us this morning. Okay, thank you, James. See you soon. This is the first message from Philomena this morning. And then sit down, get yourself a cup of chai, cup of coffee, and have a listen to a nearly 7-minute interview from Philomena with the only Portuguese sailor who has sailed around the world solo twice. But before that, there's this. She needed a dead cat, really, didn't she? Well, fortunately, her interview with Genuino is indoors. Not there. What's they say? I know it's difficult to work out. She was saying you can expect anything on Carl Munson's Good Morning Portugal show in the morning. And she was pretending she was on the moon at first. It does look like a moonscape. Here's a longer view of the Faial of the island. And there's good news and bad news, it would appear, when there's a volcanic eruption. You get covered in volcanic ash if you're not careful, and the island gets bigger, which seems to be what she was saying happened there in 1957 and 58. Look at that black volcanic landscape there. Here is a photograph from 57, 58. Look at that same lighthouse that you just saw in the video there, and the eruption behind it. That is dramatic, isn't it? 57 and 58. Okay, so sit back, relax, enjoy yourself now as she talks to Genuino Madruga, who is the only Portuguese person to have sailed around the world twice solo, or solo twice. I'm going to sit back and enjoy my cup of tea here. Keep the chat coming, keep the chat busy and nice and warm, and we'll talk to James as well at around 9 o'clock, and Bob and Viv at 9:30.
Okay, so for Good Morning Portugal show, we have an exclusive interview with Mr. Genuino Madruga. So, Mr. Genuino, we are proud to be here in his restaurant. So he is the only Portuguese sailor and the 10th in the world to circumnavigate the world twice, solo. So, would you like to speak a little bit about your experience on those two tours?
Yes, indeed, but at first, good morning or good night for every people in the world. You are welcome to this restaurant, to my place. Everything you can see here, this is souvenir. I took the places I have been all over the world. And by the way, I'm the only Portuguese until today, 2 times around the world, sailing solo and crossing the Cape Horn. From the Atlantic to the Pacific, indeed, I'm number 10 in the world doing this. I'm born here on this special islands, the Azores. My island is Faial. The island of Faial, Horta. Everybody knows, on the Yachtsman, everybody knows all over the world. So, I have been sailing all over the world, as I already told you, and you know. And now I have this restaurant.
A very good one. We recommend it.
We use local meat, local fish. By the way, I'm captain of fisheries. So we have the special fish of these islands here. If you can recommend your people or someone,
of course,
you can come, because you are always welcome.
Yes.
You are always welcome.
And Mr. Genuino is a very nice person. You can contact him directly. You just come to Horta, find his restaurant Genuino, and ask to speak to Mr. Genuino and say that you are coming from the Good Morning Portugal show, and he will even get you some accommodation as well, because you also have accommodation. Right.
Also, yes. Also, you have the guest house, Genuino.
Yes. So, well, and to speak a little bit about the island, what can you tell people? Why should they come to this island?
You must come to these islands, not only from Faial Island, but all the islands. We have 9 islands. Everything is different, but we have something very special for everyone. This is a safe place. It's safe.
Very safe.
Here, no robbery, no guns. Everything is quiet. The people are very friendly.
Yes,
and
yes, they are.
As I told you, everything is different. All the islands are different.
Yes.
We are on the middle of the Atlantic.
That's right.
Europa
In the middle of the Atlantic.
And America, just 2 hours from Lisbon. Not far away, no.
Not very far. No.
Just 2 hours from Lisbon. And this is a good place.
It is a fantastic place.
And we can sleep without problems, quiet. The food is good. the weather not so bad, even winter time.
Yes.
Even winter time.
We are in November
just
and it's 20 degrees, so yeah.
Even winter time is not. Sometimes windy, sometimes rain, but
Yeah,
it's
but
winter.
not for a long time, because
Not for a
sometimes
long
it
time,
rains
yes,
for
it-
half an hour, but then
Yeah.
the sun comes again,
And we
it's
used to
always
say
nice.
that we have 4 seasons on
Yes,
the Sunday.
yes, that's right.
So, come to these islands, my friends. Came to this island because we are waiting for you, and this is indeed a very special place in the world. Look to the world today. Here we have peace. We have friendly people here. Just don't forget this. It is a safe place.
Can you tell us why did you decide to go solo on your tours?
Yes, on the 60s. And even before. I saw the people arrive on this port, and I looked to these people, So maybe one day, if I have a boat, I want to know also what is the Caribbeans. Caribbeans, many other places in the world, because the people arrive here from all
Over the world.
all over the world. We are the number 4. This port here, Horta, is number 4 in the world with yachts. On the season, it starts on April. The port is full with yachts from all nationalities, with people from all over the world. So I saw that long time ago, madam. So I keep that on mind. And I maybe one day. So
And so you did.
yes, of course. This was before I went to the army. And I was getting the money. It was schools on that time. Getting the money and so until 1999, madam. Not possible before. But when I bought my boat, I was very happy.
And
So-
by the way, the name of the boat is Hemingway.
It's anyway, yeah. If you don't know the Old Man and the Sea,
Yes.
a very special book. It was indeed a very special book, even for me. Just get that book, offer your book to your friends, to your children, because it's indeed a very special book, The Old Man and the Sea.
Yes.
And by the way, I already have my book.
Oh, yeah.
What? I also have my book with my memories, things I have seen around the world, and my life is there.
Very good.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Well, Mr. Genuino, it was a pleasure for us, and we were very well received in Mr.
Wow, absolutely brilliant. The second part of that was sent to me separately, and I'll stitch them together and I'll make sure you can see them on a YouTube channel. Couple of legends there. How amazing. Thank you so much, Philomena, for creating that, for that moment for us there with Senor Genuino Madruga. And you can see his restaurant, his experiences there, Genuino. What a guy. And what a woman as well, that has to be said. You're absolutely right, Pete. Philomena is just amazing, and trust her to know the only yachtsman to sail around the world twice and get a deal on a restaurant and a hotel. What a start. Absolutely superb. And there it is. I'll put the link to the restaurant to where you can go and speak to him directly. What a life. What a guy. Sailed around the world twice, solo, only Portuguese to do so, and then went back to Faial, his place of birth, where he was first inspired to go sailing around the world, and opens a restaurant, and you can speak to him directly there. I should have a quick look at the menu and see what's going on. Let's go into the restaurant for a moment. Oh, can you hear the sea in the background? Well, that's very good, isn't it? And then the menu's there as well, and then there's a few pickies. That's a nice little website with some help from the government and the Azores there. Oh, and Antonio Costa eating at the restaurant there. There's some great pictures too. Fabulous. Thank you so much to you, Philomena. And should we leave that sea in the background for a moment? I really like that. I wonder if you can hear it. Yeah, I think you can hear the sea in the background. Let's leave that there. That's fantastic. Just to answer your question, which I think Pete did in the Azores, of course, particularly Faial Island, where she was filmed earlier on. talking by the volcanic activity of 57 and 58. I remember my dad, says Coach Turner, taking my brother and I to Greenwich in 1967 to see Francis Chichester knighted after his solo round the world voyage. OMG, thanks for that, Coach Turner. OMG, not only does he sail around the world twice solo, but his English is perfect and he named his boat after a literary great. Ever wonder what you did with your life? Yes, well said, Pete. He's making us look bad. Oh dear. Algria, all you lovely gumpers, see you soon. From Viv, we will see you soon. And a report from the gym as well. All right, I think that's going to make people want to go to the toilet if I leave that if I leave that sound effect on in the background. Gary Mills, yeah. So thanks, Philomena. Thank you so much. Lots of still images and the video as well, of which we'll make a montage and pop it onto our channel, so that you can enjoy that again and learn a bit more about the Açores, Fael, and Genuino Madruga, the legend. Okay, Gary Mills says, I dragged myself to the gym this morning. My gym buddy is on holiday, so I took headphones and played motivational music. Within 10 minutes, I was feeling like your first message said Ernie. And I was thinking, okay, so he's playing the Benny Hill music in the gym, and he is the fastest milkman in the West there. But actually, there was a typo, and it was actually Arnie, not Ernie. To which Pete says, does that mean you felt like you were 76 or that you smell? I think we're talking about Arnie possibly in the 1980s, right, rather than in the current time. How lovely. Thank you very much. And Gary Mills, at least you have the comfort of knowing you are taller than the average bear. Okay. Excellent stuff. Cheers, Pete. Cheers, Gary. Thank you, Viv. See you soon. Also to mention this morning, the new Learn About Portugal news and information page on the website seems to be going pretty well. You're very welcome to find out more about what's going on with some of the more obvious news and some of our more provincial, parochial stuff as well. I don't mean that in a bad way. If I take you over there for a look now, if you go to our Good Morning Portugal homepage or webpage, you can click through to Portugal news and information, or you can go directly there with learnaboutportugal.com. And this is the selection of stories that I picked up on last week. And I will start again this week with what catches my eye, and always open to you sending me links as well on 913-590-303. You can subscribe to this on Spotify, on Facebook, on Twitter, and of course on YouTube as well, and get shorter potted versions of what's going on in Portugal rather than having to commit every morning to 90 minutes. We looked at in this last week the news about Portugal, the football team qualifying perfectly for Euro 2024. Oh, that's another thing, isn't it? As well as the Carnation Revolution 50th anniversary and a general election, we have the Euro 24 as well, the football European Football Championships. What is the productivity rate in Portugal? Maximize the security and value of your money transfers. Of course, conversation with Spartan FX. Learn and improve your Portuguese with Makes You Fluent. I really nearly read that as makes effluent. But that's having mixed reviews, I think. That particular way of learning Portuguese makes you fluent. Our interview with Linda Keith, extraordinary expat who's just recently settled in the Algarve. Expats everywhere's video, 12 best cities to live in Portugal, and a link to our own poll on that as well. The sensational NHR plot twist video, which you recorded, seems like a long time ago now. I think it's about 10 days ago, wasn't it? Why don't we have good cider in Portugal? And you can click through to a discussion about that on GMP VIP as well. The sad news, of course, that we covered of Portuguese singer of Cape Verdean origin, Sarah Tavares, who passed away at the young age of 45. We had a look at some of her beautiful music as well. I did mention of the Discovery Weekend coming up in Coimbra. Philomena will be there, of course. You can meet her then on the 9th and 10th. Not far now, is it? A couple of weekends away. That's come up on us quickly. 9th and 10th in Coimbra, another Gumparama, a gathering of the Gumpers, a riot of Gumpers on the 9th and 10th of December. And we'll go and have a look at the pretty Christmas lights. And we're welcoming your Christmas lights, by the way, your pictures of Christmas lights in your house, outside your house, in your local village, town, and city. 1st of December, though, we don't want Santa having to execute any elves with talk of Christmas before December and in November, so I'll stop immediately. Carl's Guide to the Portuguese Political System, that was my column from a week ago. A link to that also at learnaboutportugal.com. Portugal politics discussion with no tears or cancellation. That was a link to the interview. Well, not the interview so much, it was more of a conversation between Bobby and the doc on politics just last week. Socialists backtrack on the NHR for now and the road tax hike. There was a link to that too. Portugal described as a form of economic miracle. Turns out that was a bit murky, that particular occurrence. And that was all a little bit of a PR job. And I think the guy was paid to make that speech about how brilliant Portugal was. I mean, it may or may not be true still, but it just sounded a little icky what I was hearing about that. A state budget debate, what opposition parties are pushing for with the, of course, an important week this week. That's Wednesday, isn't it, when that will be discovered and put to bed, the Portuguese budget, a couple of days away. And from Antonio Barbosa, all of this news covered last week on Portugal News and Information, exploring the crystal ball, a glimpse into Portugal's 2024 real estate market. And that was a little bit of a podcast recording, which if you go to learnaboutportugal.com and scroll your way through all of those links, stories, articles, and references, you'll be able to hear a few of them as well by just pressing play.
Entramos na reta final da Black Friday da Conforama.
That's Black Friday in Portuguese, everybody. There's a few adverts on that podcast there, of course. And a rather dark background. Has Mrs. M been mucking about here? Let me just put a nice... Oh, that's better, isn't it? Bit of Portuguese blue sky in the background there. So that's all at learnaboutportugal.com. And I shall be scrolling away those stories to an archive area and starting afresh this week as well. So if you've got any news, hints, tips, or things even that you'd like me to investigate, send me a message on 913-590-303. Quite a few people in this morning, which is good to see, and quite quiet in the chat, apart from Sarah, who's going to be with Mrs. M at 10 o'clock this morning. And they always have a great chat on the Barefoot broadcast, those two. One that I make sure I tune into. 10 o'clock this morning, or soon after anyway. Good morning, says Sarah. Looking forward to Bob and Viv. While I've got you there, Sarah, when did you want those new mugs by? Forgive me in all this recent flurry of activity. The new branded mug, a very special Good Morning Portugal mug, featuring the cockerel, pride of place, will be available soon. Sarah, a particular fan of that. And we have a new print-on-demand service, I believe, just across the bay with Siobhan, who you'll have seen from Quinta. What's it called? Quinta. I can't even remember what it's called now. Quinta. Over the bay in Cilio de Porto. I think she's gone into the print-on-demand business. So we'll be going with her with that little journey, and we'll be getting more mugs. And I was thinking, we can have suggestions from the Gumpers about what you'd like printed on a mug, on a T-shirt, on a reusable shopping bag, on a water bottle. I'm sure she'll go into all of that. And we'll go there with her, and we'll make sure we've got a whole lot more merch. I've been a bit uncomfortable, actually, working with a company that, although they say they're ecologically friendly, and I'm trying to get the cost right as well, so a mug doesn't cost about 50 euros. I've been working with a company in Norway, I think, who they do have a local printing and distribution network, but this is a whole lot better to be able to support a local business in Cilio de Porto right on the doorstep. You'd like to have those mugs ASAP. Well, if she's going to be printing over there in Cilio, we're going to be fine. So I can ship to Canada before the holidays. Okay, let me get on that. Pam is in as well. Bon dia to you, Pam, who went to the TEDx event. It was really interesting about AI making education less boring. Well, that's always going to be good, isn't it? Post-truth and using board games in education. Very interesting. Tell us more, if you will. And Antonio Barbosa, you only have to mention his name and he pops up. Bon dia, alegria. Happy Monday. And a great week ahead to you from Antonio. A bit of Tony time here, the man in the Mino, hoping you and your loved ones enjoyed a wonderful Thanksgiving. Cheers, Tony. Thank you very much for that. It's time to play the music and welcome onto the screen. He's not slimy. He's honey-coated. He's going to tell us more about that after this. Where is he? Oh, there he is.
Here I am.
Hey, how are you?
Bom dia, muito bem, obrigado. E tu?
Muito bem. This morning. Yeah, good to see you. Very good to see you. Sarah
You
Taylor,
as well, sir.
Bob and Viv joining us at 9:30, of course. And you have Bob saying bon dia, lurking while watching the technician replacing the boiler valving. Ooh, living the dream up there in Ponte Lima. Finally getting it working properly after 1.5 years.
Woohoo!
Wow, what a moment. Until then, until that point when Bob joins us with all the exciting news about his new boiler valve, it's Mindful Migration Monday with James, who today is what? Coated in honey?
Well, no, but yes. But anyway, I did notice in your speedy reading style that you said that slug was like slow honey, but that's not what it says. It says slug
What?
is slow like honey.
Ah, okay.
See?
Yes.
And there's a slight different feel to it. And the Thanks Fiona is a tribute to the composer of that song, which is just it's a song title, Slow Like Honey. It's
Okay.
a
So
really amazing piece.
Are we carrying on with those 70s musical vibes then? Because we had War, didn't we? We had
That
Sister.
was more like 90s.
Was it? Fiona
Yeah.
who?
Fiona Apple.
Never heard of her. Tell us more about
Oh
Fiona.
man, you might enjoy her. She has a very unique sound, deep alto voice, very sort of jazz.
Oh, yeah.
You
Sounds
can't really put the styling. There's no genre for it. But at least her one big album was, to me, just really amazing. And especially considering she was, I think, 17 when she put it out. It's just pretty incredible. Anyway, Slow Like Honey really reflects kind of the feel of Slug. So that's why I did it. And I thought, okay, I'm going to look for more song titles, more groups that have references to things that might reflect the personality of Slug or how fast or slow he is or whatever. So this week, Slug is Slow Like Honey.
Yes, very good. And Fiona has an interesting voice. Aviva knows Fiona Apple. It would appear, not Fiona Bruce. And I'm wondering how it is that T-Duck knows about British broadcaster Fiona Bruce. This one, not the same woman by any means. And how is it that you know of Fiona Bruce, T-Duck? I wonder how
She wrote songs as well. Interesting.
I don't think she did.
Oh,
okay. I'm really not sure of why we've got a Fiona Bruce connection this morning. And talking of incredible women who write incredible songs at such a tender age, reminds me of Laura Nyro of well, what did she write? She wrote is it Stone Soul Picnic? But she was remarkable at the same sort of age, a teenager, I think, was writing things like one of my favorite songs of all time, actually, Wedding Bell Blues, the Fifth Dimension.
Fifth Dimension, yes.
Yeah, and she was 19 or something like that when she wrote that. And then something I'm playing a lot of at the moment, a Liverpudlian vocalist called Lois Levin. She's written a brilliant track, or she wrote it in 21, and it was called Burden, and it's just been reproduced by the guy, the Culture Club producer, who's a jazz guy now, Baltic Recordings, and he's done the most amazing job of Lois Levin's track that she wrote about her mother, who struggled with alcoholism, and she wrote it when she was 15 years of age, James. And the song, you know, like when you think, hold on a minute, a bit like when Joss Stone was singing, how is it that a teenager is writing or singing like a seasoned 50, 60, 70-year-old funk, soul, or jazz great? How are they doing that?
You know, the amazing thing is finding the words for the feelings. It's not so amazing for a 15-year-old to be just chock full of very strong emotions and feelings, but to be able to put the words to it in a way that we can relate to it. Now that's, well, I guess that's the stuff of art, right? Being able to relate to something based on how it sounds.
Yeah. Incredible.
Or look.
Yes, yeah. So thank you for that recommendation, a musical recommendation. And over at GMP VIP, we have the Portugal playlist, which is all the artists who've allowed us to feature their music. And it's quite a nice little treasury, actually. Most recently, Silly by House of Tonic in Sheffield in the UK, which Dougie used on one of his videos as well. So if you're a musician and you'd like us to play your music, we'd be delighted to. We just need your permission. Otherwise, YouTube get their panties in a bunch about it. Fiona Bruce was also a guest on Top Gear. There you go, as well as the Good Morning Portugal show this morning. Jeremy Clarkson said she had a nice... Well, then she must have. Jeremy Clarkson. Okay.
And in American English, it just means she knew a really great homeless person.
What it's like, she had a homeless person living in her front garden. He was such a nice.
He's
bum.
such a nice guy. The nicest bum I've ever known.
Okay, yeah. Please don't touch the bum. Not without asking his permission first. Okay, so I'm sure you didn't come here to talk about nice bums this morning, James.
No, that wasn't on my list, but I'm always open to whatever shows up.
Oh, yes.
Especially if it's a nice bum.
Hold on a minute. We're not finished talking about Fiona Bruce here. She's also on fake.
Of course not. Thunder wants to go on how many more statements can we get on Fiona?
It's not just him. It's not just him. She's on Fake or Fortune with Philip Mould, one of my favorite shows.
So we might say she gets around.
She does. She certainly does. Fiona Bruce is also on Question Time, so she really does.
Look at that.
Look at her. She's there.
All I had to do was thank Fiona Apple, and we got a whole stream of Fiona Bruce.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Isn't that fun?
Stay tuned for next week's Memory Trigger.
Yes.
What were you thinking, if not that originally?
That'll be a new game. Say a name and see how many people have a name that comes up to them that's not related to that name.
But the older people get, the older people get, the more that happens, right? You know, word association. And also, well, I think what equally happens in older age is more associations happen, but people can remember fewer connections as to why they remember that name or what that person looks like. Or anything.
Well, when you look at it, the older you get, the more people you know. Basically, over time, it's just accumulation. Get old enough, you just can't remember any of them.
Yes,
there's too many. I'm overwhelmed.
And would you agree as well? This has been occurring to me as I age. I mean, everyone's aging, aren't they? Let's face it. But some people are feeling it more than others, I suppose, would be one way of describing it. But the more people I meet, the fewer categories they seem to fall into. Because when I was a kid or a teenager, I was thinking, oh, there's so many people in the world. You know, they are so different and diverse. And then as the older I've got, I think this whole thing of, 12 star signs, 12 people in a jury, 12 people in a team, there are about 12 types of people, I would say. Would you agree with that, roughly speaking?
Well, I guess it depends on how old you get, because the first thought that came to me was, there's two, nice and not so nice.
And then maybe when you're really old, there's only one kind of person.
Well, the other is the opposite, right? Nice and not nice. Yeah, I don't know.
Is that what happens? Who's the oldest person in our community, I wonder, who could comment on that? I don't want to out them or make
Well, I do. I remember my mother, who was 86 when she died, which isn't ancient, but she also had Alzheimer's. So her memory got very selective, especially to long-term memory is what she was mostly connected to. But her attitude was, she would say things like, oh, he's not so nice. Oh, he's nice. So that's what made me think of it.
That's what it came down to in the end.
Yeah.
And I suppose that, and it's full circle, because I suppose babies might think like that as well, mightn't they, in their survival state? Animals are a bit like that as well, aren't they? It's like, I can be looked after or treated well by these sorts of people, not so much these sorts of people.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the life is navigated, perhaps.
Well, and I've defined it more into the love and fear dynamic, that there's two there, which isn't about the type of a person. It's about the states that we are in. We're either in fear or we're in love. So I could see it in that way. But,
yeah. Fiona Bruce, just finally then, maybe on Fiona Bruce, she is on Question Time, as Pam's pointed out. Now, I wouldn't recommend you watching Question Time. It is the worst of British politics, T-Duck, or just watch it just to see Fiona. I doubt you'll want to watch very much of it. It's pretty sour and very polar in its approach. Typical, the worst of, like, how can we divide a room into two kinds of people? Again, not
nice and not nice, depending on your perspective.
Depending on your politics, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will not be tuning into that, given that
No,
preface this one.
I watch it just very occasionally, see a clip of it just to confirm my worst prejudices, of course. Some years ago, I was having severe difficulty remembering names. Lumosity's brain training program made a world of difference. Thank you very much for that, whatever your name is. And Colleen is here as well. Bom dia a todos. Finally, I'm in Portugal. Yes!
Yes.
Woohoo! Oh, yes.
Bem-vinda!
She gets a parabéns for that, doesn't she, James? Let's
Sim.
give her one of these. Definitely a parabéns for that. Well done, Colleen. Good to see you. Tell us about some of the highlights of your tour and tell us how we can help as well. That's fantastic. And a welcome from Bob as well. Striking question time off my list. Thanks for the heads up. Tita, I learned to remember names from old what's his face. Superb. Okay. Can you remember what you came here to talk about, James?
Yeah, sort of. I always make notes to help jog that memory of mine. But a couple of weeks ago, when I was talking about traveling on the train, after the fact, I thought of what felt like a potential helpful hint. I shared it with Aviva on the train at the time because so often you're not even sure what train you're on. You hope it's the right one, but once you establish you are on the right train, then it's like, how do you know where you are? When do I start looking for my station? How do I know this is the station I want? All those kinds of questions. You're just rolling along in the train, go, oh, it's beautiful. And here's another train station. And you roll right through. And, oh, this is, you can lose track. So it might have even been my first time around in that confusion. I said, I know. I'll open my Maps app on my phone and it will show me where I am. Oh, and then I can track it along the ride. So that was very helpful. I knew where I was and what direction I was heading. I could verify, oh yeah, I'm definitely heading toward wherever I'm going. That was helpful. Yes. The other piece was, how do I know what station this is? Because on some of the trains, like the only train I think, if I'm recalling correctly, that tells you where you're going is the AP. The other trains that are not, that don't have the electronic digital boards on that tell you what station is coming up. Some of them don't even announce what's coming up. So what I've learned is it pays to pay attention to the train stations that you pull into. And in my experience, every train station has the name of the city that it's in at the train station if you look for it. So if you do that every single train station on a 2.5 hour train ride, it could get a little repetitive, I guess. Yeah. But if you're tracking yourself on a map and it's looking like I'm coming up, here's the next city that's on the map. I wonder if that's a train station, and you pull in, you can put two and two together, you can look for it, you can verify and say, oh, the next station is mine, or it's coming up very quick. I really need to pay attention. That to me was very helpful in my confusion about where I was the first time or two on the train heading north toward Porto. So I thought that might be helpful to people who are new to taking the trains. And
there's so many variables, aren't there, when you're taking a train in Portugal, as you've detailed in the last few weeks as well. And as exciting as it is, I think it can be a little bit stressful as well. So nice little tip there. Any others from our community? Gratefully received. The app is very good, isn't it? The cp.pt app, I think, is pretty good as well. That's a good place to start as well. That would be my tip. Baddie's with us. Bom dia alegria from a dark, wet and grey Iceland. She's not selling it, is she? And that day when you're on the train with Aviva, I was no help at all. I got sick the day before. James was saying all this to me, and I heard his muffled voice while my head was spinning.
Well, that's good. So she didn't hear me hear me repeating over and over. The last time I did this,
it was general,
different.
A reassuring presence in the background of like the teacher in Peanuts, I guess, is probably what you sounded like that. Yes. Colleen, speaking of trains, my son, who is here until Wednesday, and I are going to Lisbon today and gave up on the train app. So taking an Uber. CP.pt, was that not good for you, Colleen? I will figure it. I will someday figure it out. You will. There's time. And
It takes a little bit of adjustment, a little bit of familiarity.
Good pivot there, though, right? Like, I can't make this app work. That's it. I'm just going to get an Uber instead. There are options, thankfully, as well. That's wonderful. And the bus is good. That's the other thing to say about Portugal for Americans, especially. The bus is not the dreadful experience it can be in some other countries, right? The Greyhound bus has got a pretty bad reputation, isn't it, James?
Yeah. Well, and the only experience I have of long-term or long-distance buses is actually Connie and Hank's experience. They take the Flixbus from Porto to Lisboa. It takes about the same amount. It only takes 10 or 20 minutes longer than the train does. And I imagine it's because it only makes a couple stops along the way. And they say it's relatively comfortable, really comfortable for a bus. And the big selling point is that it's like €8 for a trip from Porto to Lisboa. It's very inexpensive. So it's definitely an option. I don't know that I would try to use the local various city buses to go from place to place to place to hop way up. But yeah, as I understand it, there are buses like Flixbus that make the trip fairly quickly, fairly comfortably. They do have toilets on board, so you don't have to worry about making a pit stop somewhere, which is probably
a mess.
Which is probably why they can go so fast. So they don't have
Okay, there you go, Colleen. Joel de Norte is here. This is what you must have come in a little bit late or misheard you, maybe, James. There's a cool app on the interweb called Google Maps. Really, that's pretty helpful to to know where you are.
And just in case you know, there's other places you can go for maps and internet searches. Everything doesn't have to be Google, especially if you don't want every single thing you do tracked and then advertised to. So I tend to stay off Google unless I absolutely can't find what I want on something else.
But Apple Maps not great, are they?
That's what I use, and it works fine for me.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I in my head, this is how badly Google have got me. In my head, I just translated what you used as Google Maps.
Yep, and that's exactly what they want. So I'm just here to be the voice of a reminder. There's other ways to get good information.
Thank you. You're tuned into the Google Morning Portugal. Sorry, the Good Morning Portugal show this morning.
What was the name of that show again?
Don't be concerned if you find a ticket office closed before your intended train ride. Just get on and you can pay the agent on board. Helps to have some cash coins in hand. And they do have a card machine as well, don't they? Generally speaking, I think the rather handsome. They're uniformed staff and they look very good in their grey suits. I think
grey suits, yeah.
Some of them are very handsome. Mrs. M has shared with me, and she would buy probably a CP.pt calendar if there was one each year. And that's right, Alison. If the ticket office is shut, you just pay on the train. However, if there is a ticket office open and you get on the train without buying a ticket, they can be a bit eggy about that. I've done that at Aveiro. So when I used to travel from Korea to Aveiro, Korea didn't have a station, so I'd get on. I didn't have a ticket office, so I'd get on the train and pay on the train. And I thought, okay, I'll do the same coming the other way. I got told off. And with kids the other day, they need to see the ID, as you found out, James. They need to see the ID of children if you're trying to buy a children's ticket. Even if there are 40 children, they need to see each and every one. And that was another little bollocking I got from a guy at Caldas de Rainha railway station just recently.
Yeah, my experience has had the people on board who are checking your tickets and so on. They've run the gamut from being the friendliest Portuguese person I've ever met, willing to engage in a conversation in very good English, to some guy who's hated his job since the day he started and just wants you to shut up and do it right. So, yeah, I think you're just going to...
I met him. Yes.
So, you'll get what you get. And I think that's good common Portuguese, well, maybe just human knowledge. But for the most part, they're very friendly. And I've had guys who have asked me for my ID, for a passport, for a copy of my ticket. And I've had guys just look at me, say my name and carry on.
And they say, could you bend over as well? Only kidding. Right. There's a cool map then, says John, whose picture we're going to show. Now, John, thank you for sending this lovely picture of you and Pam in Vigo, I believe, where you've been. Visiting the Christmas market in Vigo. The whole city centre is shut down to auto traffic each evening, and the lights come on at 6:30. Looks very beautiful there. Now, I'm not going to be showing too many Christmas lights until the 1st of December. We'll do what we've done in previous years, which is light up Christmas, everybody. So keep sending the pictures in by all means, but we'll save the best of them until the 1st of December, when I think it's right to do so. And
I personally appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure. And it's Vigo, I think, is a very interesting place. It's a little bit of a sneak peek of some Christmas lights there. But more to the point, popping into Vigo from Portugal up there in Spain, where there's also a very handy airport, given that we're talking about transportation so much this morning. So thanks for that lovely picture there. Lots of love to you and Pam there, John. What else are people saying here about public transport? It's turned into quite a nice little topic. Thank you for the suggestion. Alison, yes, with her ticket office advice there. And Pam, I use the Red Expressos bus to Lisbon, much preferable to driving in Lisbon. Free Wi-Fi too. True, very good. And Pam was at TEDx over the weekend, as we heard earlier. I thought I had a picture of it somewhere. Yes, I do. Here it is, the TEDx picture. Como nos podemos preparar para el futuro con inteligencia artificial. So quite the emphasis on artificial intelligence in a rather nice looking building as well. The connection there, I think, of ancient and modern, probably they did it in the monastery there. Artificial intelligence against a monastic backdrop. All the best that Portugal has to offer there. I think that second guy was trained on UK trains. That's why he's so grumpy, James, is Pam's theory there.
Could be.
There are fewer trains in Portugal now than there were under Salazar. Sorry, but public buses always remind me of Train Spotting. Train Spotting, the film, not trying to figure out if someone is or isn't trans. Train Spotting, not transpotting. Yes, I didn't notice that type.
That one said transporting, by the way, that first word.
Oh, really? He's
Yes.
talking about Train Spotting. So everybody, oh, yes, and transporting the film. No, Pete, Train Spotting the film. And we got some pictures of his Seat Festival that he was at over the weekend as well. Apple is so bad that in Silicon Valley, when a new software product fails, they say it's Apple Maps bad. It's become the standard for that. Apple Maps has really messed us up in Porto a couple of times. However, excellent last trip down to Caldas da Rainha area. He's still using it and helping them, presumably.
Yeah, mind you, I'm not using it for navigation. I'm just, other than locating where I am in Portugal on a train, that's about all the navigation I do with my phone. So
if it fails that test, it definitely needs bidding, doesn't it? Like if it can't tell you your nearest city, that is Apple Maps bad, as it were.
It's worse than Apple Maps bad then.
Unfortunate reality is that pretty much every app tracks your location and metadata. It's just the time we live in. Yeah. And it's only our fabricated personality, isn't it? It's not our true soul or being. It's just a little fabrication that we've created in the world that, as far as I'm concerned, in many ways, those purveyors of digital software are welcome to, quite frankly. It's not the real me. I've just got a Bombeiros calendar. Have you got your Bombeiros calendar for 24, James?
No, didn't even know one was available.
They'll come knocking door to door.
Okay.
So maybe your Portuguese family will take the heat on such an occasion, and they might get you one. But we've had the knock on the door, and it's a fundraising thing, and you get the Bombeiros calendar for the year ahead. Pam
So far, Louisa twice has gotten me an annual diary for a Christmas present, and she knows I don't use a calendar at all other than digital at this point. So I use it for, taking notes or whatever if I need a piece of paper.
Diary. Did you say she's bought your diary?
Yeah, well, and
your diary, the Slug diary, it would be a fantastic bit of merchandise. It would just be one piece of paper with today written on it.
There you go. And under location, it says here.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, for the big companies, that's a terrible idea, isn't it? Because there's really not a lot in it, unless you have 365 pages with today written on it.
Empty pages, sure, yeah.
It's just a jotter then, really, isn't it?
Yes.
If you want free, that's the trade-off. Yes, if it's free, you are the product, of course. Don't drive in Lisbon. The Metro, Uber, and Bolt are cheaper. It's turning into the transport episode this morning on Mindful Migration Monday. You don't
See
have
what I mean?
parking. There you go. And Christmas lights, Santa. Oh, sorry. Stop talking about it. All right. Vigo is looking great. Was there a Saturday? Was there on? I see. I thought that was a question, but there's no question mark. It's a statement. Was there on Saturday for the lighting ceremony? Lawrence, great to see you here. Lawrence and Linda, good morning to you. Tuning in late from Lisboa. Linda and I never used buses before, especially in the US, but have been using from San Martino to Porto to Lagos to Lisboa. Now back in San Martino de Porto tomorrow. Let's have a coffee if you want to. I'd love to see you again. Great if you've got lots of bags. There's loads of space under the buses as well. In this house, Christmas is anytime after Thanksgiving. Woohoo! I found that Apple Maps.
That's pretty American attitude there. Actually, any day, anytime after Halloween is more realistic, I think, these days. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts. I still wait at least until December 1st. It's like, Christmas is in December.
You actually put your foot down there, didn't you, in a gesture?
I did.
Yes. Wow. It must be an elf genocide around here. It's not funny, really. This
Poor
last
elves.
But yeah, stop, John, immediately. Right. Anything else in these few minutes where it's just you and me before the grown-ups arrive?
Well, actually, my intention came from a thought that you had in regard to something that I wrote probably 15 years ago in regard to the holidays, but maybe I'll put that off till next week, or I already published it on the Good Morning Portugal site.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
But I when you mentioned, I said, oh yeah, it is a good reminder. And it certainly is about mindfulness. So I did bring it to the fore, but there's no time for that today. And I still have a couple other, or at least one other update I wanted, which is on my driver's license exchange. I finally, it took over a year just to get the documentation accepted and to get an IMT appointment and have them take the paperwork, take my 30 euros and say the license will be in the mail. So, and that was 9 months ago. They gave me a temporary license that's good for 6 months. And I said, so will I be getting my license before this expires? And she says, well, if it expires, then you need to renew it. She didn't say I would be getting my license in that 6 month period, which was kind of a bad omen. So about 5 months in, I contacted IMT to find out the status on my license. And again, I don't know how many organizations in Portugal use it, but it's the bullshit reply is what I'm calling it now. And it said, we've received your information, but it requires further assessment. Wait a minute. I filed the documentation with a human being who looked at it and said, this is sufficient enough to give you a temporary license and take your 30 euros so that you will have a regular license mailed to you. And you're telling me it needs further assessment. That's when I call bullshit. I go, no. They're just saying we don't know where the hell it is, or we don't want to deal with it, or we're overwhelmed and we can't manage the paperwork. But that reply was not satisfactory to me. So I said, all right, I am now going to start contacting, because I had about, I think 2 or 3 weeks before my license expired. I'm going to start contacting IMT through their portal once a week for the next 2 weeks. And if I don't hear from them by then I'm going to move it up to 3 days. And then eventually I'll just be emailing them every single day until I get some kind of an answer that makes sense to me. I said, that's what I'll do. Right. And I don't know if it worked. I don't know if it was just coincidence, but within 2 days of my 3-day plan, I got a reply from IMT, which for the first time in 6 months confirmed that I had a number and that my license, my temporary license, was being processed. I had no information like that prior. So it's all right. Now I have an account number basically, and I have an email, a personal email to help me with a paper trail on this. So I then discovered I was trying to figure out where do I renew my temporary, and the reply I got was very brief, said take it to any IMT office basically. And I said, well, as far as I know, the nearest IMT office is Lisboa to me, which is an hour and a half bus ride both ways. So that's a 3-hour round trip to get a temporary license renewed. But then I found out through good old Good Morning Portugal that someone had success getting theirs renewed at the local driving school, which those places tend to do those types of things.
Yeah.
So I went by there. She said, yes, we can do that. And she took my temporary, took the temporary, put a stamp on it, wrote on the back saying that this is good until his renewed temporary arrives. So it's like, I'm not sure that will work if I were driving and got pulled over or whatever, but that's what I got.
You could have done that yourself.
And then, yes, 15 euros, please.
Yeah.
Just to stamp my Xerox copy and write a little note on it. And then when I came back, I thought, okay, so it'll look like the old one, but it'll be a fresh piece of paper with a new stamp. No, it was a copy of my temporary that I had submitted with a new stamp. So they didn't even make a new one. And I said, okay, given what I understand about taxation, about fines, about all these other things that are going on, my experience so far is that the government is really good at punitive responses to things, fining you or whatever it is, to the point that people will lie on taxes because the taxes become so much a burden they can't make any money if they're legitimate, that kind of thing. It's disincentivizing. I said, okay, now I understand why they take their sweet time with the renewals. They get 15 euros every single time someone has to renew one. It's 30 euros a year per person who's waiting for a permanent license. What's the incentive on IMT's part? And I don't want to blame the government on this. I think IMT is private. I don't know. But there's no incentive for them to hurry the licenses along because they're just going to make money. The longer it takes, the more money they make.
Yep.
All right. Now I understand it. So that's sort of a complaint. And again, to me, we had this whole thing on complaints and gratitude last week, and I use complaint because in my mind, that's how it holds for the opposite of a gratitude.
Yeah.
To be grateful, you're not complaining, you're being thankful. So that's what I meant by that. But so in my mind, I just got done complaining. And so for me, the reminder is to remember that's less than 1% of all the things that go wrong in Portugal for me. I mean, that's just like tiny little 1%. Everything else, the other 99+%, is things I'm in love with, things I adore, the gratitude I have for being here. So it's really is like just a little sliver, that's
I estimated it at 80-20, and it's far less than that, isn't it? From your reckoning there and your accounting from that point of view. And also it can be turned from a complaint, from a personal point of view, into an insight about the culture. And like, it is what it is, isn't it? That is how it works. And when you realize that sometimes with these things, that, it's an inefficiency in how you frame it and your point of view, it makes complete sense from how things have, how they've come together culturally over time. It's like, oh, yes, of course it's like that. And it's not likely to change because it's so ingrained as a way of operating a particular system in the culture. It's like, oh, okay, I get it now. Yeah, I understand that. And then it's less painful because it's not personal. It's everyone's up against the same thing. It's 25-10. We better get Bob and Viv on because they may have something to say about this, and they want to celebrate, I think, having their boiler working again live with everybody this morning. So let's give them a nice big round of applause. And thank you very much for that insight, by the way, James. Let's bring him onto the screen and let's open things up so we can see everybody. How are you both?
Hey, we're doing well. Do we have sound?
You do. We can hear you. I could have said, what? Sorry? What? No, nothing.
Carl, remind me who these people are.
The guy on the left is Bob,
Yeah.
and the lady here is Viv. You may remember them from being on the show.
Ah, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Names.
as my mother would have done.
Names.
Oh, yes, of
Yeah,
course. Yes,
names,
how are you?
names.
Yes, I have a comment here. Bob does really well with names because of lumosity, but otherwise his favorite word is whatchamacallit. And every time he can't think of a word, it's that whatchamacallit.
It's a very helpful word.
It
It's
is.
very
Yeah.
helpful.
Technical
Yeah,
term.
until I have no context and I'm going, what?
Yeah.
I expect
Which
her to read
whatchamacallit
my,
are we talking about?
read my mind, just,
You check him for the what you call it.
yeah. So,
Do you two have strategies as well? Because when you're new in a country, of course, you are meeting probably more people than you might otherwise do, and you're in the business of meeting people, aren't you, and introducing people to other people. So you do have to have some of that memory thing going on. Do you help each other with that? Mrs. M often says
We
to me,
do.
she steps in and she'll say, "Oh, he's so awful." Not introducing me. I'm Louisa. How are you? And that's
Oh,
great.
yeah.
I get
Yeah.
to, I get
we
reminded.
have those experiences. When it's really bad is when you've invited somebody over and your mind goes blank.
Yes.
Who are you? What are you doing?
They don't have a name, they become the people you invited over.
Yes. That,
Are you at the right house?
yeah.
Oh, and then Bob just shouts out, "Viv, I've got to go and get the Ujima flip from somewhere," and you're left with a stranger. And you just introduce yourself.
Or two people show up at your house at the wrong place and you think you forgot you invited them. How fun would that be?
Yeah.
Oh, hi, you guys, come on in.
That
3
could
hours
happen.
later.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's not a big dinner tonight, but you're very welcome to whatever we've got.
Oh,
A glass of
definitely.
wine.
I'm not hungry. Have mine.
Well, between her growing up in the South and me growing up in the Midwest, if somebody showed up, you just fed them.
You can
Yeah.
feed them. It doesn't matter.
So that's why we keep our actual address rather private.
It's a great
I
question.
know where we go.
Thingamabob is as good as whatchamacallit.
That's true. That's
Yeah,
we
true.
I have
we
a
do
tag
want
with
to
things
know.
on it.
And Thingamajig. Thingamajig
Yeah,
is another
Thingamajig.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ujima flip.
They
But
all-
what is Portuguese for whatchamacallit? Is it coisa? Coisa is a good word to have, isn't it? Thing.
Just stuff. Yeah, things.
Yeah, so can we have an official? Would you know what that is? Pam doesn't know either, so we'll get to find out, I'm sure. Antonio, if he joins us soon, will be able to help us with that, I'm sure. So how are you both? I framed today's show, not that we've mentioned it yet, of course, as often happens when James is here on a Mindful Migration Monday, but I was thinking, it's 2024 soon. It's the Carnation Revolution celebration, 50 years. It's a big deal. There's a general election coming up. Portugal, the football team, are in the Euro 24 for next year as well. That's just 3 big things that are happening in the culture. And on a personal level, for people moving here, that's a big deal as well. And that's the business that you guys are in. How are you seeing 2024?
Still shifting with the
It's shifty
NHR.
right now.
Yeah,
It's very
yeah.
shifty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be warmer, though, isn't it, with the new boiler valve?
Hopefully it will definitely be warmer.
Yeah.
Yes, we're hoping.
It actually, same boiler, just the
Yeah.
valve has never worked, and so the inefficiency
Yeah.
has been
It
off
has
the
cost
charts.
us thousands of euros
Yeah.
in fuel,
Yeah, so-
electricity,
So we're
because it wasn't working right.
You got to fix that thingamajig. That'll
Yeah.
take care of
Yes.
it.
You got
so, and this is a commentary too on communication here, and we're digressing from the new year a little bit. I've got a background in all kinds of maintenance and in commercial heating systems in particular, and it's been difficult to navigate. Vitor's been very helpful, but I knew when we first turned on the system that it wasn't working right because of my background. But the owners have lived here 15 years, and I've found a few different things that weren't working right for the entire time they lived in the house. And so, not wanting to offend, but at the same time wanting to find a solution. And that's why it's taken a year and a half. And I finally had to find my own person, because their standard service people, of course, hadn't found the valving issue. But it seems like they didn't really want, it was difficult to admit that we've been spending hundreds of dollars over the course of the year. For us, it was costing us over $100 a month for the issues. So anyway, it is a navigation cultural thing, of having an issue, but how particularly in technical terms, how do you communicate it in a non-accusatory manner, and in an appreciative manner of, we are very grateful that we do have this house and that it does enable us to have the people come that come and visit, mostly locals still so far, but as we're expanding, you do have to pay attention to cultural differences,
Yes, absolutely.
and the understanding. So,
and the position you chose to take on that was not to cause any offense by bringing it to anyone's attention, particularly.
Well,
no, we brought it to their attention. We just didn't. They thought we didn't know what. Well, they thought Bob didn't know how the system works, so they thought nothing was wrong with it, because they said, "Well, it worked when we lived here," but it didn't.
That's
not
it.
correctly,
So
but
it's a matter of not pushing hard, and it is what it is, because we do appreciate where we live. Very, very much.
Yes, and you make a good point there, because you're very grateful, aren't you? So you don't want to spoil that situation. I'm sure James will have something to say on this. I would like to add that my experience of Portuguese people in that situation is they're really direct. It'll be like, well, it worked when we were there. Well, it's not working now. And Portuguese to Portuguese would be very direct, I think. Like, well, it's not working. You need to sort it out. And nobody would fall out about that or get offended in the way that British people would. British people.
Fine, we're not friends anymore.
But I'm not going to tell you that. I'm not even going to tell you we're not friends anymore. I've just decided that for myself, and you're never going to know. And that's my extra punishment for you. Is not only are we not friends, I'm not even going to tell you that. So there.
Suffer with that.
Yes.
How did the United States import that with the culture way back whenever? Because I've run into that before.
James, if someone came to you as a psychotherapist, and this is an assertiveness issue, isn't it? This is a human issue, definitely, of like feeling awkward about communicating something. What would you suggest, with your insight culturally now as an expat foreign immigrant coming to Portugal and psychotherapeutic training? How can somebody not suffer in the way that Bob and Viv have done for the last year or so?
Well, one comment on it worked when we were there. Is my very intimate experience with the Portuguese family here. I'm getting familiar with attitudes and ideas. So maybe what they were saying is, for €100 a month, it was working just fine for us.
It was costing them
everything. Everything is expensive in Portugal. Especially utilities. They're expensive in Portugal. So to them, it was like, it's working fine. So the €100 was just a part of being a Portuguese person in Portugal. So that may be where the response is coming from, which then informs me that I have to get outside of myself if I'm going to try to understand a different culture or a different way of being, and even just another human being, because we all have different experiences. So the capacity, and this is the mindfulness thing, to go inward, to look at what do I want to say, and then I'm a huge advocate of telling the truth in as kind and respectful a way as possible. We're paying €100 a month for this. I have history. I used to be a maintenance person in this field, and it appears that something's not right. It appears there's something that's not right, and I'd like to get it fixed. Do you know someone, or whatever? However you approach that from there. But if I'm in the middle of it, I'm just pissed off it's not working and someone's not hearing me.
Yeah, that was where we were. We were being very nice about it, but yeah,
it was,
it was frustrating.
So, but we,
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting it all sorted, and
Well, we hope.
but
We usually
Yes,
Yeah,
fingers crossed.
I've made this problem, and I'm
You know
sure-
what? You too.
we
You too.
hope it was this whatchamacallit. We do.
Well, you are so great. You are literally the Portugal Pathfinders, and it is, people build their lives on the shoulders of giants, and this is one such story. The other story, which you're famous for in my world, is the bathroom, the second bathroom story. And I've quoted that story subsequently of well, there's something wrong in that bathroom. So what did you do about it? Oh, well, we just stopped using it. And yes, yesterday we've got an issue.
It's a closet.
Yes, it's now a closet. We have a bathroom in our one of our bathrooms with a leaky shower tray. So I was thinking, well, what do I do about that? I'll do what Bob and Viv did. I'll stop using it.
But that was for a period of time.
Yes,
It's fixed.
Bob found a solution.
The plumber said no solution. I fixed it.
Well
So,
done, Bob. Well done,
solution.
Bob. Okay, now I mentioned the Portugal Pathfinders. Before I forget, before we get distracted again, you had a Black Friday offer, not to be left out of the marketing marvel that is Black Friday. You had a special offer, I believe, on your services in helping people tour the north of Portugal. So what did you have?
Well, we had a multiple offer in. And we're going to be carrying things on through Christmas, but so far all we've done is introduce the 4-day, 3-night tour. And so for the Magic of the Minho tour, that's all we've had out there in the marketplace. Right. So for Black Friday, we came up with a monthly subscription newsletter for $7.99 of a compilation of our experiences, festas, all kinds of different aspects of living here. We also have a coffee chat, which will actually book time, book an hour of either video or audio, and we'll sit down with you and answer your questions whether you have questions of the North. And actually, Carl, if you go to blackfriday.portugalpathfinders.com, that'll bring up kind of headliner thing for the deals. And then we also came up with the idea of an exploration day. So no, you're not wanting to move here, but you'd like an overview. You're coming to the area. There you go. You're coming to the area. We can put you up and over the and take you around the entire Minho region in a day to show you the highlights.
Not the entire Minho.
Yeah. But around this area, whether it be the coast or up to the border of Spain, and answer questions that way. And for the Black Friday, we're also including an extra day there, and so 2 nights for the normal one. Our large tour, we're adding 2 extra nights at no extra charge for the regular Explore the Minho tour. And we're realizing that what we're doing with the familiarity in this part of the country is would work great for while this exploration day would be great for someone that's traveling through, but we can also lose our train of thought real fast. For somebody that's wanting to relocate, they got their D7, they got their address. They're right now located in a place that's like, yeah, maybe not long term, and they'd like to explore another area. So they may not need the intricacies of Portugal answered, but they may be interested in an experienced overview of this part of the country. And so we have the flexibility and availability and scheduling right now that we could do that.
I love it. And where people love to see you on your videos and on a Good Morning Portugal show here, they can have a session with you directly. It's like having a coffee with you. What a great idea. And the newsletter as well to keep in touch every month. So great news, great services there. And I'll put that in our news section as well to make sure people can click through to that. And from our website, if you want to hit the Get Support tab on goodmorningportugal.com, that'll take you through to Bob's work as well. Excellent stuff. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. Anything else?
Yeah, if I could put a plug in for the website, I've started exploring it a little bit more. Boy, there's a lot of stuff on there.
Oh, what, content.
Or yours? Are you talking about my website?
Your website. It's excellent. Just digging into it a little bit. We've been so busy dealing with trying to learn how to function in Canva and simplebiz.ai. all this.
Yeah, ChatGPT and
all kinds of stuff.
It's a lot for an old brain.
Yeah, the artificial Watson thing. Yes.
So that GMP VIP site is fantastic. It really
thank you very much. We've got our website, goodmorningportugal.com. But yeah, the real value, I think, the real juice and resources are over at GMP VIP. So thank you for that little plug there.
Absolutely.
We've got Antonio F here. It's a bit late. And Antonio, can you help us? What is Portuguese for a whatchamacallit? We'll come back to some of those 2024 plans in just a moment because it is just around the corner, folks. Pam's telling us that the Bombeiros calendars are sold to raise funds. Another way you can help their funds is to become a socio member. This is really good. Become a member of your local Bombeiros association, which gives you access to their hospital transport at a reduced rate. That's a good idea, isn't it? So another way of another sort of public transport bow to your fiddle there. And the freguesia, when going back to your comments, James, about IMT, the freguesia in Alcobaça are very helpful as an intermediary with IMT as well. So that might be a possibility. If you go to your junta de freguesia, they might be able to help you with IMT. It's amazing what you can find out that isn't obvious when you scratch the surface like that, as Pam is pointing you towards there. That's wonderful.
And the woman there might be very willing to help me because that's just the anecdote I told last week about, speaking a little English and getting the "oh, sweet little boy" response while she was being kind of mean to Louisa, right?
Yes.
Hola, bon dia. We'll help him.
Yes, that's right. Well done, James. Well done. Okay, I think we've got a very quick bit of accordion music, and we'll come back to some of your suggestions for 2024, how you think it's going to be over here in Portugal, how we'll continue to help people. This is from Peter's Soup Festival at the weekend. A little bit of music. This a couple of stills first. The accordion players are getting ready there, and a group of people at the Feira de Sopa. Soup so important to Portuguese culture, of course. Pete, how many soups were there on offer there, if you don't mind telling us, Pete? And here's a little bit of music now from the same event. Thank you very much for this. 40 seconds of accordion. Were you getting into that wherever you are?
That was very good.
That was some pretty sharp accordion playing there. And 12 soups each day. There are 12 soups each day, but about 20 different types, subdivisions of soup there. Sopa Super Sopas here in Portugal. We've got a cultural problem here. Antonio F will help us, but we need to translate what whatchamacallit is first. It's the thing. It's a
thingamajig,
It's a thingamajig.
Come on, Antonio. What's it? Right. Hold on.
It's the word you can't think of.
Yes, and Pete,
Usually about a thing, though. It's about an object.
it's
I can't
usually
remember
about
the
a thing.
name of that
It's
thing.
the
It's a
thing you can't
whatchamacallit.
think of- It's the thing you can't remember the name of.
Yes.
come on, Antonio, you
Very
know.
well defined.
Yeah. So Koiza is the closest I can think of right now, but I'm sure you'll have a better one than that, Antonio. Thank you. Help us out with that. So in these last few minutes, then we're beginning to think about the new year, a Carnation Revolution, Portugal in the big Euro 24 football championships, general election. How are you feeling about it, Bob and Viv? About the new year just around the corner, or have you not even started to think about that yet?
No, we are. I'm feeling optimistic about it. I think things are going to start getting better.
Yeah.
They've been on a downhill slide. I think it's going to get better. I think with the election, and there'll be a big celebration of the end of the dictatorship and all that. I think it's going to be a good year.
Yeah. Okay. And so you that's the sense of it you have. It's like it's been a bit of a challenging year, this one. And,
It has been.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Interesting. Bob, do you want to add anything to that?
We're real optimistic as far as the just getting to know more about the country. There is a shift in the second year versus the excitement of the first year, you know, and the first year we embraced the cold. The second year is like, you know, I'd like to be warm.
I remember warm. I remember warm.
And the other things as well. It's a matter of getting back to the purposeful parts of life. I always do this every, beginning of every year is just look at, okay, so where have I been? What have I done? What can I do better? And we're excited, I think, in being able to just not only help ourselves and continue to expand and grow, but to help others do the same. And
fabulous. What a lovely.
To keep on loving people.
There you go.
No matter what.
Yeah.
Yes, what a lovely message. I'll take that. I'll take that for 24. Absolutely, because that's a great message. I think internationally as well as nationally, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you make a very good point about this. You know, it's like for a band, isn't it? The second album, the second year is different to the first year, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Really is.
Okay, thank you, you two. James, I'm sure you have things to say on this matter as your closing comments this morning on Mindful Migration Monday.
Well, the first thing, if you know anything about me at this point, is, and I came in saying, I don't even think about Christmas till December 1st, right? It's got to be the month. So January, please give me a break. That's a whole, I'll deal with that after Christmas. But in general, just an approach to life. I don't adhere to the idea of making New Year's resolutions because generally we just disappoint ourselves when we do that. And for me, it's more an everyday, and to me, the single motivating word that just really creates a sense of peace within me is kindness. How can I be kind? And then that takes into all the things that we talk about on Mindful Mondays. Like if our goal is to be the kindest person we can be, then I think we'll all be in a hugely better spot. So for me, that's it.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Viv. Thank you, James. Kindness to the planet. We have a lovely link in from Coach Turner, who spotted this. Portugal runs on 100% renewables, dropping consumer electric bills to nearly zero for 6 days in a row. Well, we haven't felt that just yet, but
I haven't seen it.
No, let's
Which area is that in?
Yes. I didn't even realize it worked like that. If we were
zero to the company that produces the energy. That's what it is. Okay,
we can rest assured that in their gesture to be kindness towards the consuming public, they'll be passing that on, won't they?
I wouldn't count on it, but
tumbleweeds.
Crickets.
There they are. Okay, folks, have a great week. Thanks for being here. Take care.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao. Bye for now. See ya.
Bye.
Bom dia, Portugal! In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the man audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show at GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.